I try to stress to my team that the process needs to be as beautiful as a result. The bride, the groom, the groom, the groom, the bride, the person, the birthday the birthday boy, the birthday girl, whoever it may be, and even corporate, like whoever's walking in that door, like they need to feel like, oh my gosh, I had such a great time. This team loves what they do. They love doing it for me. It's just as much for me as it is for them.
Loverly presents the Wedding Podcast, a show for those on the road to I Do. From relationship advice to wedding planning tips, we break it down. I'm your host, Kelly Khalil, bride-to-be and the founder of Loverly, a DIY wedding planning platform. Over the years, we've helped tens of thousands of couples get down the aisle. And now that it's my turn, I'm not holding back. I'm bringing in my besties, wedding pros, and some brides-to-be you may know to talk through everything from picking the perfect venue to mastering your relationship. It's time to plan smarter so you can focus on the happily ever after. You've got the ring, we've got the rest. Hi friends, this week I sat down with Josh Spiegel, who is the founder and chief creative officer of BIRCH. Josh and his team have globally transformed luxury spaces, creating awe-inspiring events that seriously wow the guests. Their high-touch decor, floral, and production has been featured in Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, People Magazine, Brides, and many more. Learn how to put the wow in your wedding with Josh's creative process, how to integrate social media followers into your big day, and expert wedding planning tips from one of the biggest names in the industry. Josh also shares how he got into the wedding industry from selling flowers out of his father's balloon shop in Brooklyn. It's an inspiring talk, and I promise you're going to learn a lot. Let's get into it. For anyone who doesn't know about you, your business, who's been living under a rock because you are all over social media, Harper's Bazaar, Vogue, tell us about you and BIRCH and your business.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you. I mean, you've created this amazing epicenter of beauty that everyone like stalks and wants to be a part of every day. So we all live vicariously through this page and through this podcast. So like, you're killing it, and thank you so much for having me here. Okay, a little bit about me, I guess. BIRCH is a full event design and production company. It's a passionate group of people who just love to create incredible things. We started all the way back when I was 19 years old, selling flowers out of my dad's balloon shop, ultimately hitting the streets to sell flowers just to make some money, saying yes to every opportunity that came my way because I'm a big believer. I'm a doer. It's just like, we'll figure it out. I'm that kind of guy. I'm just like, yes, sure. You need me to do a birthday party? Yes, sure. You need me to do an engagement party? Yes, sure. Whatever. You need me to, press an elevator button and carry up 95 packages, fill the flowers that are full of thorns and cut my hands open and eventually figure out how to strip a rose properly? Sure. I'm a sure kind of guy. We figure it out. And over the past 17 years now, I've been doing this. And then over the past 10 years, BIRCH has become what I guess BIRCH is today, which is really, I want to say it's a space where a lot of young millennials and Gen Zs get to give us a call and say, hey, we've been watching you for a while. We see your work. We see your edit. We see the team. And we want to be a part of this like culture. And we want you to be a part of our most important day of our life. And it's something that we're so proud of and such a great reputation to carry. So we're very blessed.
And really, I feel like from me looking at your work and what I see is that you create over-the-top experiences for weddings. So really beautiful architectural florals, really bringing in, I would say, unexpected elements into like design, where when you look at something like an image of a wedding or a reception that you've done, it's kind of like, how did they do that? Like there's a question of like, this is so beautiful. How was this created? So I'm really curious about, I want to hear more about selling flowers out of your dad's balloon shop, because that is, I love that. But like, what is when you're working with a client, what is your creative process? Like, what is that like?
Well, I love the fact that I mean, you can't see me at home, whoever's listening to this, but I'm like smiling ear to ear because you kind of tinkled in like a little bit of you sprinkled in a little bit of this magic that is what we try to bring to the table. I think for a long time we've seen beautiful design and beautiful floral. I think what we got an opportunity to innovate with is the architectural elements that some people don't even see. You don't understand why it's more interesting or slightly more editorial or slightly more chic. It's usually because of the fact that there's this subconscious design that was put into the overall experience, as you said, to the event. We don't just take into consideration the centerpiece. We take into consideration the feeling you're going to get when you're sitting at that table, which is actually a very interesting way of selling and approaching a conversation with a bride or with anybody who's making an event, because it's not just like, oh, do you love peonies? Let's use peonies. It's, well, if you love peonies, how do we make sure that the peonies tell everybody, hey, I'm here because this person loves me? Not just, oh, it's a pretty flower for a wedding, and therefore it's in an arrangement filled with 900 other varieties of flowers. But we shoved this one in because it's my favorite. So for us, it's like, it's really about taking more of the understanding of a couple or a person, depending on the celebration, and really getting the opportunity to know them and use those key moments to design around, and then giving us the opportunity to really say, step back and be like, okay, how do we create this overall atmosphere that when you walk into the room, not only are you wowed, not only can you sit and see the beauty and the detail and everything, it's kind of intentional, but it wraps around you and envelops you and gives you an overall experience that when you leave, you don't even know why you had the best time of your life. You don't even know why you thought it was so beautiful. You just know it was beautiful, and you're like, well, whoever did that, I want that team to do the same thing for me. And it's a really cool feeling. So when you just said that, I have to say, like wow, like that's so nice that you could see it. It's so nice, I guess others see it, and it's special because we put a lot of effort into that.
Well, at Loverly, we have so many wedding submissions that come in, and I have seen albums after albums of weddings for years. So you really start to notice, right,
Sure.
when what stands out and realize, okay, what's different about this? So there definitely is a wow factor in your work, and that architectural design is definitely unique to you. But I want to go back, right, to
Sure.
just kind of where you're located, because I believe you're in New York. That's your home base.
I live in New York. We have an office in Florida, in South Florida. We are opening an office in Colorado this year, which is very, very exciting. And last year we had the opportunity to take Birch global, which is really a fun opportunity to do really what we love, which is really just a design part, right? Understand the client, go through the process of that, which I know we're going to speak about, and take that and translate into an event, even with local vendors, whether you're in Italy or Qatar or Abu Dhabi or, France, it doesn't matter. Or, Hawaii, it doesn't make a difference. Anywhere you want to go, we get the opportunity to take you and make it into an event.
So while you're headquartered in New York with
I
satellite
live in
offices. Okay.
Planes. I would like to say, like, if planes had like a zip code, that's what my zip code would be. People say to me, I was like, "Where's home base?" I'm like, "In the air, over somewhere, some
Wherever you have a
latitude, some
computer and a
altitude."
Wi-Fi connection.
Yeah, we just need Wi-Fi. We're there. We're totally
Yeah.
okay. It's wonderful.
And you've done weddings all over the world. How many events do you do a year? Because it's not just weddings. You do special events,
Yeah,
birthday
we do
parties, engagement
corporate,
parties.
birthday, yeah, everything. So for us, we do approximately 160 to 180 a year. We do a lot more than most people, and a lot more than most
Wow.
people. So I'm like addicted to the hustle. Like because of where I started, and coming from humble beginnings, and realizing you needed to make it on your own, and put food on your table for your family, and just make it happen. It's funny because I never grew up being like, I love flowers and I'm going to do event design and I understand architecture. Actually, quite the opposite. I grew up just being a people's person. Like, that's it. I was like people's friends. People trusted me. We had great conversation. I always thought in my life I was going to be a psychologist, which I guess to some
You kind
degree
of are.
I kind of am a psychologist. I always tell everybody when they come to interview by us, they're always showing us their work and how talented they are. I'm like, well, how do you communicate with people? Because it really doesn't matter, because there's so many people. I love to say at Birch, it's not just about the result, because ultimately, and this is like a shameless plug, I guess, but so my apologies. but the
All
idea
good.
is that everyone can make a pretty party. Saturday night is like is like a breakup for me every weekend. Like I go on Instagram after the weekend, everyone's weddings are done. You're scrolling through the weekend, you're eating a pint of ice cream in depression, like I didn't think about that first, like, and you're seeing
Yeah.
all this beautiful work out there, and you're like, damn it, I could have come up with that, or I thought about that 6 months ago and I didn't put it into implementation. Like, there's so many things that we go through as designers and curators, and um, I was saying that like I try to stress to my team that the process needs to be as beautiful as a result. The bride, the groom, the groom, the groom, the bride, the person, the birthday bride, the birthday boy, the birthday girl, whoever it may be, and even corporate, like whoever's walking in that door, like they need to feel like, oh my gosh, I had such a great time. This team loves what they do. They love doing it for me. It's just as much for me as it is for them. It's a partnership, and then that equals an amazing result. And I think that shows up differently in pictures. I think it shows up uh, differently in conversation later. So yeah, psychology has been like huge part of our business, and every single talented human that has I've been lucky enough to come across in my life. My question is always like, how all in are you? Not just how talented you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People first approach, I think, is a big differentiator, especially when you get to your scale of events. I mean, 160 is no joke. You're doing two, sometimes three events a week, which is exhausting. So I don't know how you do that. But also, I feel like oftentimes when you think of the caliber of designer, right? A lot of, for brides and grooms who are planning their wedding, who are listening, oftentimes they think of that top tier one celebrity style event designer, that there's going to be ego, it's about them. And I do think that happens sometimes, right? Where there are a
More
lot,
than it should.
yes, and it
More than it
becomes
should.
about them and their aesthetic. And I feel it's very refreshing to hear that your approach is like people first, what's going to make them feel great. And at the end of the day, that's what translates, right? People can feel the energy of an event and the love that goes in to the production, to the people who are there making sure every detail is perfect. And even when it's not perfect.
Yeah, no, even when it's not perfect, but 200%, like we're big believers in it. We're non-ego based. Like we tell people all the time, like we'll come up with a design. If you don't like it, just be like, guys, it's trash. Let's do it again. And we're like, okay. Ultimately, I think one thing people do forget is that we are in the service business. Ultimately, we're here for you for your one day. We get to live a one day every day. I say quite often, I got this quote from a friend of mine who's a band leader, and she has an incredible band. And she said to me, she goes, Josh, every night is opening night. You don't have the right to mess up. Like, this is their one time. And like, we live by that. Like, at this point, we say to ourselves, no matter how many events we do, we have an incredible team. We're a team of 40 at this point. Like, you get assigned your designer, you get assigned your producer, you get assigned, where I'm the chief creative officer by title, but I'm like heavily involved in every project because I love being able to edit all the team's designs and elevate them however I can, or just applaud them for being insane geniuses. But ultimately, what the most important thing is making sure that it's not about us. It's about them, and the party has to look like them, it has to feel like them. It just makes a big difference, and I think that everyone who goes down that celebrity path of like, oh my God, look at me. Like we've done some pretty amazing jobs. We've
Oh, yeah.
amazing events with amazing people, and we have some
Can
really
you name
amazing
drop?
ones coming. Or name drop. Okay, I name drop a few, a couple. If
The
if
ones
you're
that are
social,
not under NDA.
no, they're yeah, I've only been under NDA a few times, but like the idea of first of all, social media is obviously our baby. So I'm a big Instagram, TikTok. Like, let's go for it. I believe the ROI there is huge, and I love. They are so much more enthusiastic about their events. More than just, oh, I'm getting married. It's a party and it's a celebration to their followers as much as a celebration for
And it's
themselves.
amplified. Like
It's
the followers are
true.
part of the experience, and they're designing events and experiences that give them different wow moments or visual experiences. It's a whole different world.
It's a whole different world, and the reason why I love it so much is because you're also giving people insight. Like, I feel like A-list celebrities, like J Lo, she had a great wedding for the fourth or fifth or sixth time, whatever it was, and like that wedding looked insane, but like nobody got to be a part of it. We just got to ooh and ah over the dresses, and there were one or two shots from the ceiling of looking at trees that like we're fine, but I feel like the social media influencers, if for lack of better words, um, allow their fans and the people who adore them or hate on them, whatever, to be a part of this process, and it makes it so much more human. Like we're doing a wedding now for Bridget coming up. I don't know if you know Bridget, Bridget and Mike. She's incredible. She has 1 million followers on Instagram. She's the funniest. Her whole thing is she's a 40-year-old bride. She's giving hope to every girl out there who's not married yet, that's getting older, and she's in the process of going through in vitro and trying to have a baby, and like all these things all at the same time. And she's been pushing off this wedding forever, and we're finally getting her married, finally, which
Okay.
is like a home run for us. But the best part about her is she's like, she gets so much love from her story of being so authentic that like she can't wait to live her wedding. Like she's gonna live her wedding. And that's like something that people are like
Live stream. It's going to
like
literally
live
be.
stream her ceremony. Like why not? Let she's like, these people follow me every day when I'm eating ice cream out of a bowl talking shit about a pillow. Like why wouldn't I, I'm not saying this she does, but why wouldn't
Yeah.
I show them, let them be a part of my happy times as much as I'm letting them know about my struggles in fertility. Like there's this balance which is so cool. And then okay, so that was one. We just did the Lele Pons wedding, which is
Yeah.
quite
Which I
quite
want to talk about that.
story.
That
Okay, so
was,
that was
wow.
so fun. It was so
Yeah.
fun. I've never
So
had so many people in one room doing the same thing with their phones. Like it was wild.
just the
Wild.
live posting, just people just going nuts.
It was so nice and refreshing, but so funny at the same time to me. But like Layla's amazing. Like she's such a sweet, such a kind human. Like really, really embracing. Like when we got the opportunity to meet with her for the first time about the wedding, she had a very specific design aesthetic, which was really different than what we usually do. It was a lot more organic. It was more, more about an ethereal feel. It was supposed to be like there were a lot of different partners involved, and over time it became more and more and more intimate, which made it nicer for us. And it wasn't about like, holy shit, how many flowers are you hanging from the ceiling? It was really about their love and their partying and their enjoyment with each other. The most important thing to her was their ceremony. The ballroom was really just about the dancing, but the ceremony to her was everything. And we got an opportunity to create some of those Instagrammable moments, which everyone's always obsessed with today. And she had a great setting, and it was just such an amazing vibe. And I think that translated out to the world because out of all the weddings, nice or not nice, that we've done over the years, like I've never gotten so much feedback
Well, that
about.
wedding, we featured it, I think, the day after it came out.
Yeah.
So for those of you all who are listening, this wedding, because I think there's a delay from the podcast to when this goes live, but we featured this. The wedding was in March
Yeah.
2023, and it happened on a Saturday. And then that Sunday, I know we shared it on our social, but then it was in E, it was in Us Weekly, it was in People, it was in Brides. I mean, it went everywhere. This wedding, people went nuts over, partly because of who Lele Pons is, right? People know who she is from social media, and her husband, he's a professional
He's a,
soccer player.
I'm not 100% sure what to mean.
Which is wild.
Honestly,
No.
I never met him. I hung out with
Oh,
her.
really? Oh, wow.
I don't
That's so, well, that's interesting that you work specifically with the bride. I love that.
Yeah, sometimes like they stay away because most of the time they just have a meeting and they
I've
just
seen the
stare at you.
memes. Yeah,
And
I
like,
see the memes of guys showing up being like, "Oh, surprise! Like this is amazing!" Like, you know what I
they
mean? Like,
don't care.
yeah, they don't care, but
It's not very-
they
Some
care about
yes,
having
no.
fun. Yeah,
It's not a general rule. There are a
Yeah.
lot of grooms, and there's no judgment on those grooms. I always tell my daughters when they get married, like, I'm picking out their dress. They have no say in anything. Like, it happens. You know what I'm saying? There are the men in the world who want to handle
part
and
of
be
it.
involved.
Mhm.
But then there are the men that are just like, honey, I want you to be happy. Do whatever's going to make you happy. We're doing an amazing wedding coming up in the DR very soon for a really incredible couple. And they announced actually already, she announced that we're doing a wedding. So maybe I could say it. We're doing Nikki Fernandez and we're doing Albert Pujols' wedding. So like that's a
Wow.
big deal. You know, the president of DR's daughter, well, he was the president, will be the president again, and one of the biggest baseball players of today. And they're the kindest, coolest, sweetest, nicest people ever. But he was sitting in that meeting, and I looked at him like, Albert, aren't you happy you came today? And he goes, I just want her to be happy. And that just like is such a beautiful, beautiful thing. So I think it was kind of the case here with Lily too. Just saying.
Well, the connection with Lele for me personally is we had the same wedding planner, or for my engagement party,
yes.
Gianna Sanfilippo, who
Love her.
is incredible, and she did my engagement party, and similarly to my engagement party, my fiance had zero to do with. I think he was surprised until the day before. He was helping us with a little bit of the setup, but Gianna is incredible, and she's the most low key, under the radar planner. She gets stuff, and she's so sweet. Yeah, she feels like she's part of your family.
I will tell you something from the other side, because you're saying it from the bride side. Like, I will tell you from a vendor side, it's refreshing to work with an event planner or a wedding planner that is super kind, humble, and like lets you do what you do best, trusts you fully, edits a little bit, gives her input, but really allows you to shine. She really gave us an amazing platform. We're so grateful for it. And she was so nice, by the way, the next day after the wedding. I don't know if I should be saying this out loud, but whatevs. She actually texted me. She goes, "I would like to take you and your entire team to a spa day. Because I know how hard we worked on this wedding." And I was like,
wow.
I mean, we're all flying out because we have like a wedding the next day, but we love you for asking that. Like, it was so kind. It just says something about her as a person. And we're very blessed that we got to work with her on it.
She's so low key. She hasn't even been on the podcast. I'm like, we need to do a debrief on my engagement party. We go to her all the time for wedding planning tips with Loverly, like to put content in. And she's just kind of like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. She's just like so chill.
She's one of a kind. I'm impressed with her. I really am. And I'm like I said, I'm very lucky that we had the opportunity. My whole team is. Everyone's like, literally every time I post someone, she's the first person to be like, "Oh my God, Sal, what's up? Ellie, what's up?" Like, she's so like about. I'm like, you're just too nice. You're just too nice. Like, don't be so nice to us. We're the help.
Well, I think it's actually really a good segue, because
Sure.
sometimes people don't understand the difference between an event planner and an event designer.
Oh, yes.
And how do event planners and designers work together and collaborate, and like where are the roles kind of like differentiated? Because on my event, Gianna really helped drive a lot of the design and the creative. Yes, we had floral and all that, but she really took on more of that role. But when she's working with an event designer like you, it's a very different collaboration. Sure. So how does it typically work with a planner and a designer?
I will tell you that's a great point, because a lot of people don't know the difference and they get confused all the time. The way it works is like this. I would say that the planner is more like the general contractor, while like the designer might be the architect, but also might just be the interior decorator. So you're giving a little bit more order in terms of the design aesthetic, but they ultimately still work. Well, I guess it would be the other way. I'm sorry. General contractor, the designer would be more like the plumber. So like the plumber knows their craft. They know how they would need to route the pipes. The GC's not telling them how to route the pipes. They're just saying what they need. They need 6 toilets. They need 4 sinks. This is the weirdest analogy of all.
No, but it's helpful. My fiance is a contractor, so I get it.
It's such an ugly visual. Like, we're on such a beautiful podcast, and I'm talking about pipes and toilets. I apologize to everyone home, but I can't help myself. I kind of have I just verbally just do whatever comes out. I don't think much. So anyway, so
go
basically,
with it.
I think that really does help illustrate a little bit. Like the planner curates the team. She hires or is given people that the bride and groom, or again the couple, really wants to work with. She works through, or he works through, the details of the contract and make sure they get on budget, and works through the details of the things that the brides or the grooms have told them that they need to hit. They need 6 bathrooms, they need 4 sinks, those moments that must happen. And then the designer has the opportunity to fill in all the color all around it. So it's kind of a really beautiful collaboration. Now, there are some planners who also design. We work with those planners as well, and they'll basically come to us with a mood board, a floor plan, a concept, and be like, "Here, Birch, play with it," and then we'll just elaborate, we'll elevate, we'll work through it and be like, "We think this would work better here," or maybe this story's not fully being said. We could find a few more chapters in there that would really fill it in for the couple and for the experience of the guests. So planners really oversee the broad picture. They handle every single vendor in the event. They run the day of show. They usually work on the minute details, like, again, all the very important things that someone specifically says they want at their wedding. They want someone to hand out little handkerchiefs at the ceremony that say "for your tears because I'm a beloved dear." I don't know. Anyway, that sucked. Scratch. But that's the stuff that they would handle. What we are like, how do we make this room feel like something amazing? We want 32 chandeliers. Hey, Gianna, can we afford 32 chandeliers? She'll be like,
Yeah.
it's not really in the budget. Let me see if I can get it approved. Yes, yes, no, no. Like that's kind of how we play off each other. And ultimately, when you're an all-in company, as we are, and a lot of the planners are for their couples, it ends up with a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful result because everyone's putting all of themselves and all of what they love into an event for people they love. So it's just a good thing.
When in your experience specifically with Birch, who usually gets hired first? Do they bring you in creatively first, or the planner? Is it a mix? And
I
is
think
there a preference that you
yeah.
have?
That's a actually I think you're the first person to ever ask that question. I've never I've never been asked that question, but I've presented the question before because it's interesting. I think we broke the rules a little bit. I think in general the planner's hired first and then designer or floral company or event design company comes in and handles the rest. With Birch specifically, because we're blessed to have a following, a lot of our couples have been following us for a long time, and when as soon as they get engaged, they DM us and say we want to use you. Then we have the opportunity to jump on a call with them and then help curate the team, including sometimes the planner. Because once you get to know someone well, like I've done weddings with planners that don't mesh well with their clients and then they get stuck. Well, like I think planner to couple is kind of like dating. And if you want to marry each other, you better know you're in it for the long run because
Oh yeah,
we're
because
gonna
it
work
gets
9
ugly
months a
sometimes.
year. Yeah,
Like there's
money,
stressful things dealing with
craziness.
family, dealing with
Yeah.
vendors doing the wrong thing. Like actually at my engagement party, the only bad thing that happened, and I think at the time Gianna handled it so well, but when our rentals got delivered for our plates for the actual like dinner plates,
Yeah.
they sent the wrong size
Oh
plate.
no.
So it was like the smaller size. And we realized it like an hour and a half before the event,
Of
which
course.
was obviously the most like
Right. Yep.
stressful thing. But like that, there was a moment of like intensity there. And then she's like, I got it handled. Like, don't worry, Kelly. I don't want you to even think about this. Like, it's handled. And look, it was on me because I was there. I received the order. I looked at it. I didn't like know to measure like the plate size
No, it's
or
not on
whatever it
you.
was.
You're the bride, but yeah. I know what
But you
you're
know what I mean?
saying.
I accepted
Yeah.
it and I was like, yeah, this looks, because it was at my dad's house. But you know, when there are those really intense moments of things, and we also had a situation with the DJ, which I won't get into, but he was
Oh
a
my.
nightmare and like was not
Ugh.
nice and like, yeah, won't mention that name, but Gianna handled it like such a pro, even though this person was like threatening to like walk off the job. There was something wrong with this guy. He was, yeah, we won't get into it. But anyways, she really handled it, and like there was, you know, there's highs and lows, and there's like moments of like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna
And
happen.
and
Like
and,
something
and I
bad is
think
about to happen.
yeah, and to tie it back in, like just in reality, it's not even just about how you catch the potato when it falls. It's less about that to me, and it's a lot more about like how she handles you in
Yeah.
that situation of stress and
And not just me,
uncomfortability.
but the family, right? Like my dad was
Everybody,
there,
like
he was
it's a
stressed, my
connection.
fiance, you know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I think planners need to be they're kind of like they need to be vetted well. So it's really nice for us as a unbiased um I guess first friend as a
Mm-hmm.
part of your wedding journey. Um
Because
I
you can
guess
get
the
a
planner
sense of personalities.
get a good sense of personality and when they start running their planners by us, I'm like, eh or yes. Like and again, not saying the planner is bad, because I'm sure there are a bunch of planners that are going to listen to this and be like, Josh, you ever say it about us? And I might say yes. I mean, I might say yes. For the wrong couple, I would say too, because ultimately you wouldn't be happy, they wouldn't be happy. You can never make it. I tell people all the time, you can never make this industry about the money.
Mm-hmm.
If it becomes about the money and just like closing jobs and deals and just booking another event, regardless of the experience and regardless of whether or not you get along with your couple or regardless whether or not you love what you're doing for them, nobody's ever going to be paying you enough money to make that worth it.
Yeah.
So it needs to be a good fit. And we've had it before. People come to us and we're just not the right fit for them either. We're either too fun or the people that want us to be a little bit more stodgy about the experience. Very professional is not the right word because we are professional,
More
but like
conservative.
Yeah, we're very approachable. We're comfortable. Like I'm wearing a hoodie. Like I wear hoodies. I'm not
Hmm.
wearing a suit. I know there are a lot of designers who wear suits and they look so fancy and tight and really uncomfortable. And I just, I'm not against it. I just, that's not my vibe. Like, and it doesn't work for everybody, but I like approachable luxury. I don't need like, you know, white glove and a gold.
Tuxedo.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, gold tuxedo.
Would you ever work an event that didn't have a planning team attached to it, or have you?
I have so many times. Okay, so this is like a controversial conversation, but to be completely transparent about it, we've had many weddings where like there's no planner and the bride's like, I don't want a planner. I want to work with you guys. I want to deal with my details, and we'll get someone like the week of or the month of to run the show. I'm fine with that. I mean, honestly speaking, again, if that's the type of bride they are, that's the type of couple they are, and they feel like they got it, and there are a lot of very organized, very detail oriented, really anal, people out there who are just good at what they do,
That
and
A type that can
and
handle it.
yes, so and sometimes when you put an A type with another A type, or it just doesn't work. So like if that's what's going to make their day better, then who am I to say no to that? And we have a great team to support it. We have a great team to help with the details. We have a great team that's going to work with you on the like little touches and even reading through the contracts and making sure that you have everything squared away, at least with the things that we know. And then we could always go ahead and offer you like friends in the industry who would be happy to be a resource for the things we don't know. And ultimately, it's about you. So if that's what you need for your event, then again, we're all in with that. And I know this keeps sounding like such a commercial, but it's so
No,
I
it's
hope
not.
it's
That's how
coming
you do your
across
business.
authentically. This is
Yeah.
it's who we are as people. I don't believe anyone gets redos. So why would we be any different?
I mean, the fact that you've done so many events and you do so many events, clearly your formula works for you and your clients. So whatever it is, it's your approach. And I think that's what I think when people are going through and hiring vendors for their wedding, their engagement party, bridal shower, whatever it is, right? Their birthday party, um, what you need to realize it's all about like that chemistry and like what works for
Right.
you. Um, and sometimes, the person that you've been following on Instagram, that one photographer or designer or planner might not fit with you personality wise, might not fit
Right.
with you budget wise. And
Hmm.
the only way that you can know that is by going through that kind of consultation, like hiring process. So
How did you meet Gianna, by the way?
my
Not to flip this
sister,
around.
no,
I'm
it's
curious.
fine. So my sister runs Be Inspired PR, which
Right.
is a boutique, what they do a lot of lifestyle, but also wedding PR. That's how I got into weddings. And her and Gianna have been working together for, gosh, I think like 15 years. And Gianna produces a lot of the events that my sister does for industry events and brand events. Gianna planned my brother's wedding. She planned my stepbrother's wedding. So she's kind of like our
She's your
in-house
in-house
family
planner.
planner. Yeah, and
I
so
love
she knows our family dynamic. I have my father's remarried. I have a stepmom. My mom passed away. She knows the inner workings of how that all goes down, and
that.
so it's really familiar and comfortable. And I think that's so important to have someone. She feels like an extension of our family. So that's how
That's
we
the
know
reason why
Gianna.
I love it.
Yeah. And I've, like I said, I've worked with her on the Loverly side. We've tapped to her for a lot of her insights when it comes to wedding planning advice and guidance in our editorial content. We launched a video series on Loverly, talking about, for the DIY couple, really helping them really understand the basics of planning, which is really our whole goal, is to educate, right? Having these conversations
Right.
with designers like you who work with the best of the best in the world. How can we pull those insights of the things that you've learned that then people can take it and incorporate it into their own planning? Because reality is, Josh, you're not accessible to all the couples out there, right? You have a price
You're
point and an
100% right.
aesthetic. And
Yeah,
so, that's what we want to do, is we want to kind of demystify and make it easier. And so,
I love
we're
that.
very fortunate that we get to have these conversations with the
That's
top
awesome.
notch people like you.
Well, first of all,
What
thank you for putting me in that category. I appreciate that. I think we're a little bit more accessible than people would think, but which is nice. It is nice
Can
and
you
it's kind of
share
shocking.
details on like
Yeah,
how you
sure.
price, or you
I'm
don't have to like
happy.
give like actual numbers, but like how does someone think about, when when they're putting together a budget for event design, and what kind of is your entry point if someone did want to work
Sure.
with you?
I love the vulnerability here. I'm loving this. It's like we're in our own little like cocoon and we're just talking. We're having girl talk. Nobody's listening. Tell me all the secrets. Okay, so I'll tell you everything. I'm a very authentic, very straightforward, very honest person. I have nothing to hide. Everyone needs to win. So here's the situation. I think in general, Birch has a good rap, but at the same time a bad rap because people think that like our barrier of entry is like $250,000. People think that our all of our events are millions of dollars,
I
which
mean,
is
they look like
completely
$1 million events.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we have this reputation of like, but I'll be honest. Like, obviously, it's curated to some degree that way. But it's interesting because even in our own wedding industry family, people are afraid to call us not just because of money, but also because of aesthetic. Because they're like, "But you only do mountains of flowers," and I'm like, "Well, that's not true. I mean, look at Gianna's wedding. Like, I'm not Gianna's. Look at Lily's wedding. Like, it was not mountains of flowers. It was very beautiful and very soft and very delicate and very effortless feeling. And we do that all over the world. We can't always show it. And honestly speaking, it's funny because they don't do as well on Instagram, which is
Oh yeah,
weird.
because Instagram is all about the wow factor. All
It's
people want to
but
see is the
it is, but at the same time, like again, if you go to another page of a design company or of a planner that always consistently does the same
yeah,
aesthetic, you'll find that a lot those people are always liking their pictures. It does really well for them. For
yeah.
me or for our brand, it seems like people are looking forward to the wow. They want to be wow. They want to be inspired. So we're trying to feed them more of that because it just seems like that's what's
Performs well.
driving.
Yeah.
Correct. So we're the number one thing that I'd love to put out into the world is that our aesthetic is whatever your aesthetic is. We just
Mm.
did a really beautiful, really curated, exceptional wedding at the one hotel in South Beach, which is extremely earthy and it has a total vibe and it's kind of hipster but in a very elevated way. They probably would sue me for saying it like that, but whatever. and, and like our bride was a total rock star. She was a number two of a huge interior design firm, and she did not want flowers.
Mm.
She wanted gorgeous plates and gorgeous linen and gorgeous chairs and gorgeous elements. And we had like six flowers on the table. But it took us all day to get those six flowers right. Like the flowers needed to be perfect because they were making a statement of simplicity. So it wasn't as much about the money and it wasn't as much about the wow as much as it was about the intimate detail and the little bit more of intentional behavior of the table. Which people walked in and they're like, oh, I didn't know Birch did this. I'm like, okay. But
Yeah,
like
you're
that's
not a
what
one-trick pony. You have a whole kind of library of aesthetics you can tap
yeah,
into.
we have a team of people and everyone connects to people differently. We do the same thing internally with the bride and group. So that's number one. Number two, let's talk money because I know that's like the juicier part of it. So can we do a wedding any more of about $10,000, $20,000? Absolutely not. It's very difficult. Well, not absolutely, but it's very difficult for us because we're not structured that way. I will put it out there, a little teaser that Birch is working on being able to take our very beautiful, very elaborate concepts and create them in a way that does work for those budgets for anywhere from ten to let's say $40,000, where it's a little less of like let's meet every week for the next 9 years,
Hmm.
and a lot more of like what's your aesthetic? We'll deliver you a product that you really love and that we're very proud of, but it doesn't consume the team because
It's
I
less
think
high
more
touch. It's more
it's
low
it's
touch.
less high touch, which again, we're still going to offer the same level of service and the same level of quality, but it will be less about like, like you were saying before, with a certain clientele, you're meeting every week, you're speaking almost every day. Like it's,
Yeah.
and which I would love to give that to everybody, but it is very difficult. So ultimately, price point wise, for those who are doing DIY weddings or for people who do have a little bit more of a budget and are willing to be flexible, we are hopefully going to be creating a line within our company that allows people to have what they see for a reasonable budget. I would say that on average, most events come in starting around $50,000, $60,000, and they go all the way up to obviously the millions of dollars. Um, I'm very, I'm very like, I feel blessed to say that we're not treating any of the jobs differently,
Mm.
and that's something that obviously requires a lot of focus because it's very easy to get lost in $1 million wedding and to get totally lost from a wedding that's not spending that amount of money. But we really, it's not about the dollars because you never know. This is a theory behind it, and I'll tell it out loud for the world to hear. Like, Your wedding's about you. If you walk away happy with us, regardless of what you spent, there will be 17 other people at your wedding who are going to say, you seem so happy with your design. Now, we've seen they do this. We also see now that they do that. For those who can't see me, I'm lifting my arms up and down like a crazy person. Um, and they, and ultimately, like, the experience was worth it. Like, you must use Birch.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens from there is that maybe we will get the $1 million job from that $50,000 job.
Yeah.
So we're an opportunistic company. Like, I've been an opportunist my whole life. Like, it's the only way to live. It's the only way to thrive. It's the only way to survive. It's the only way to be. If you want to not be a trendy person. Like, we do trends, but we're not trendy. We're definitely not trendy.
Well, I mean, you've been doing this for how many years? You said 17?
17, yes. And
Which
it's all
is
based on
incredible.
relationships. Just kind of like what you said about Gianna, like family, brothers, sisters, stepbrothers. Like, once you feel it, like, why would anyone go anywhere else?
Yeah. If they have a good experience, right? If they have
That's
that good
it.
experience. So
Yeah.
important.
Making
I
a
do
great
want to
part of
talk
your
about that.
Yeah.
I was say I do want to talk about that hustle, that going way, way, way back. Um,
Okay.
when you first started, right?
Yeah.
And you said you were selling flowers out of your dad's balloon shop. First of all, what kind of balloon shop is it? Is this like balloon installations? And where is this?
So it's a small little shop in Borough Park in Brooklyn, New York. It was really small. My dad did wholesale balloons, but his biggest business was really balloons, like for birthday parties, like blowing up 15, 20 balloons. Before Party City was a thing, my dad was the one doing it. The balloon bouquets on the tables, one, two, three, four, five, layered on top of each other.
Yeah,
Do you want pearlized white or regular white? Like, that was my life. For a dollar
amazing.
25 each. It was way back when, but it was a regular mom and pop balloon shop. We sold happy birthday balloons, and when you were very lucky, you got one that sang, and we tied it to a weight. And I spent half my days at home after school filling little shot glasses with sand and then tying mylar around it so that it could weigh down balloons so my dad didn't have to buy the ones that are pre-made. Like, this is what me and
Wow.
my sisters did at night. So, like, it was kind of cool because back then balloons were cool. Not as cool as they are again now, but they were
They're
very
really
cool.
cool now. Yes.
They're really, really cool now. But, like, it was a little bit of a flex for me because he had toys in the store and, like, birthday cards, and all our friends would come to the store and it'd be like, "What are you stealing from Josh's dad today?" And, like, it was like a thing. So it was kind of really humble and nice. My dad really has a really strong work ethic. He'd wake up at like 5 in the morning to go do balloons for a bris. And for those people who don't know what a bris is, it's like the circumcision after 8 days. We're not going to go into that. I already did plumbing with you guys. I'm going to leave you alone. But but it's a party in the morning. It has to happen first thing in the morning. So if the guests are showing up at 7 or 8 a.m., we would have to be way out of there by 5 or 6 a.m. So we'd wake up. He'd wake me up at 4:45 in the morning every day before school. We'd go blow these 100 balloons, tie them to 10 tables, sit at the event, eat breakfast together, and then he'd drop me off at school. So it was really like
Wow.
thinking back about it, like, I'm smiling again. Like, it's kind of nice to remember those days because I do remember those times with my dad, which is really special. And he's awesome till today and a huge supporter. Every 1,000 followers I get on Instagram, my dad shoots me a text message with an updated number and an
Wow.
exclamation point to match. So I think right now we're at 118,000. I think I'm not counting the exclamation points anymore, but I'm pretty sure he's close to 118,000. He might be
That's
copy pasting, I don't know. Anyway, so um, the hustle came from there. Like, my dad just allowed me the opportunity to see someone work hard, not to make a ton of money, but to get by. And then I got married very young. I proposed to my wife at graduation, high school graduation.
okay.
My father-in-law was begging for me to break up with her, and I'm just like, watch what I'm gonna do. And I proposed. And then about a year later, we were blessed with a beautiful baby girl, and I realized at that point, like, life is starting, and I need to get on board. There was no time for college. There was no time for anything. So I said I was hanging out at my mother-in-law's house, and she's like, why don't you just do flowers? Flowers and balloons go really well together. And I'm like, oh, gifting. Okay, that makes sense. So I would buy a box of roses. I'd go to my dad's store. I'd sell 10 roses and baby's breath for $10. And, like, the funny part was, it wasn't even so much about what I was doing. It was my lack of knowledge in doing it and how I learned on the job. Like, I
Well,
don't
that
think I,
naivete sometimes like is really helpful because
it was
you're not
super.
going in with like, preconceived this is how business should be, and you're relying on your people skills to drive
Yeah.
your
By the way,
interaction
I
and
do
your
that till
business ends.
today.
Yeah.
We go into venues today, like I keep the same exact mentality today. Like
Hmm.
we go into venues all the time and they're like, here's a floor plan of what we do all the time. I'm like, don't show it to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, but why? I'm like, because I don't want to see what you do all the time because then it's going to get put in my head and it's going to get stuck there and I'm going to constantly be weighing my ideas against your pre-existing, already happened events. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather have the opportunity to go in there blindly. And in the best case scenario, we come up with something incredible. In the worst case scenario, we come up with something that you've already done. So, like, but I still want to at least pretend in the back of my head that it came from us and that being naive within it and like figuring it out. So that's something we've kept with us, and it did work. It pushed me, and speaking to people and just hearing what they were missing is what allowed us to be successful. I think more than not, and I guess it would go out to the couples who are looking to hire someone, and at the same time, the people who are getting hired, listening and understanding your client is a huge, huge part. My biggest success came from my first big opportunity, came from someone who I was in her house, filling her house with flowers, which I had no idea how to do, and I was playing with vases that were way too expensive from my ability, but I had no idea what the hell they were, so it didn't matter to me. But then later years in life, I'm like, I was handling a $10,000 vase. What the hell was
Oh
I
my
doing?
gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Scary. And I was like throwing it around in the sink like it came from like amazing savings. So the I was listening to her complain to her friend on the phone about a party, engagement party she was making for her daughter, and the she was so angry at the vendor she was using, a designer she was using, because she's like, the event is in 3 weeks. I've not got a proposal. I don't know where my budget is. I want to have input. I have ideas. And the guy was too busy for her. And I asked her straight out, I'm like, why are you using him? You're spending all this money. Why would you use someone who's not giving you the time of day? Why would you use someone who's not as interested in your event as you are? And her answer to me was, well, we know it's going to be an amazing result. We really don't have to worry about it. I'm just like, I'm the problem. And I'm like, you're not the problem. You're spending all this money. I'm like, you have input and you have say. It's a service business. They should be paying attention to you. You didn't get your proposal? I'm like, will you do me a favor and give me one day? Let me put together a proposal for you. Let me get you a budget. Let me see if I understand what you're looking for. And then maybe if you like it, you'll give me the opportunity. And ultimately she did. I lost a ton of money on that event because I had no idea what I was doing. But ultimately, what I realized was missing in our beautiful, beautiful world of weddings and events is the service. People were forgetting because of ego and because of being too busy or being on top of the world, like we were speaking about before, that what matters most is the client and how they feel throughout the process. Because ultimately, the day of, everyone more than not shows up in a great mood, and really things can't go that. I mean, things can go wrong in the back end, but to them, when they walk in, it's beautiful. The lighting's done, the candles are lit. There's a lot of flowers. Maybe later they'll start nitpicking at a few things, but what led up to that is what puts you in the green the day of, as opposed to what puts you in the red the day of. And
Hmm.
I'm a believer in walking in the green, whatever it takes.
I love that. Tell me, what was kind of your first big wedding or event that got featured and what that was like? So we went to the beginning. We've already spoken about, your big events you're doing now, but like, what was that kind of catalyst, that first big feature? Because your work's been featured everywhere. And I think that's a really interesting, brides always ask and grooms always, well, mostly brides, how do I get featured? And I know a lot of
Yeah.
vendors listening, like they always wonder, like, how does that happen? So for you, what was that big moment?
I'll tell you, the biggest moment of my career till today probably has been working with the Oshry sisters, like the OG social media influencers. I don't know if you know who they are, but they're incredible. Claudia, Jackie, Olivia, like
Oh, of
they're
course.
amazing.
Girl with no
They have a
job.
yes. So Girl with No Job was my first opportunity in the light. She got engaged. My partner at the time said, well, my partner till today, she texted me. She goes, we got to reach out to her. And I'm like, she has 3 million followers on Instagram. What do you mean we have to reach out to her? She's like, reach out to her. So I DM'd her. I'm like, hey, I want to do your wedding. And a week later, she responded saying, great, let's set up a meeting. And I'm like, really? And I went to her house and she gave me the job. She was so funny, so great.
She's
Um,
hysterical.
she's the funniest woman, and she literally gave me the job. And I said, I on my way out of the first meeting, I said to her, I'm like, why me? And she goes, you're the only one who asked. And I was like, okay. She goes, I can go into any store and say to them, hey, or any office and be like, I want you to do my wedding, and it'll be great. But you're the only one who cared enough about my wedding to ask me if you can do it for me. So she's like, that was a win. And that was like the first time I was on social media. I lived from her wedding. I was 300,000 people staring at my bald face. And I was so excited about it. And then after that, I got the biggest turning point was Jackie Oshry's wedding, her sister's. It was a mega wedding at the Pierre Hotel. That was the first one that got really featured in magazines and all over. So the world had changed 2 years past Claudia so much in terms of like bloggers and different types of online platforms that were now showing these weddings. It was a lot less about print and a lot more about
Digital.
content. And
Yeah.
Jackie's wedding, I think, blew me up 16,000 followers in one day.
Wow.
In one day. And that, till today, I have so many brides that say to me, I've been following you since that wedding. So I always tell people
Wow.
I'm blessed for those amazing, amazing women. And I can't wait to do their kids' weddings. Like, it's going to keep going.
Well, what I love is that you went for it. You just asked, and you're not going to get something if you don't ask for it. So I love that.
Correct. I'm a big believer in like, worst comes to worst, you hear the word no, and then you're exactly where you were before with a little bit of a lower self-esteem. That's it.
Totally.
And you'll build that back up. Like the word no won't hurt you, but it will only give you it will only give you upside if you ask the question.
Totally. Josh, I feel like I could talk to you for hours because you're just such a wealth of information.
Thank you.
But we're going to wrap up, but there's a couple quick questions I'm going to ask
Sure.
you.
Go for
Just
it.
rapid fire. And the first
Okay.
thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
What is a trend and I know you try to be trend agnostic, but what is a trend that you're seeing for 2023 and beyond that you're excited about?
Oh, good question. I want to say, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a lot more architecture and design, which is really making me happy. It's making me have to step up my game a lot because I'm like, oh shit, now everyone else is doing it too. But I am seeing it a ton in design, and I'm really, really proud of the industry that they're stepping away from just typical floral and creating structures and bringing these larger than life elements into a space. I'm excited for those. Like that's going to be something you're going to see a lot of.
Okay, what is a trend that you're excited to say bye-bye to that you think is you're sick of?
I do not want to see any pampas grass this year. Not even one time. Not even one time. Like, not
I'm
even
laughing because literally I had a conversation about this on a previous podcast that we were like, we're done with it.
Pampas has got to go. But listen, it's really nice. I'm sure we'll find a time to bring it back. But for now, it's c'est la vie.
Amazing. And for everyone who's listening, I'm going to track you down, Josh, to get some of these weddings that we can feature and link in the show notes so people can see the Instagram posts and the galleries of these beautiful weddings. But for those who want to follow you and see all these amazing weddings that you're creating, what is the best place for them to follow along and get in touch with you?
So at Birch Event Design on Instagram, at Birch Event Design on TikTok. Birch Event Design is kind of my baby on Instagram. I speak there pretty much every day. You get to really follow along with the journey of our team and what we're doing day in and day out. And I hope to bring that to TikTok soon. I just need to channel my inner youthful self. But
Your Gen Z, your inner
my
Gen
Gen Z
Z.
side. I got to shrink 10 years. But ultimately, listen, come along for the journey. Whether you'll work with us, whether you won't, there will always be some laughter. There's always going to be some joy. There's always going to be some inspiration.
So great to chat with you, and I look forward to following along all your weddings.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want more inspiration and guidance, check out our new and improved wedding planning platform at loverly.com, where we offer free wedding planning tools and advice to get you hitched without a hitch. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Loverly. Happy planning!